بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وعظيمنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع نفوسنا أبي القاسم محمد. طب القلوب ودوائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ولو كنت فظا غليظ القلب لانفضوا من حولك فاعف عنهم واستغفر لهم وشاورهم في الأمر. The first of our salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The second in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third, with your loudest voices, in honor of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Respected brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. The Battle of Uhud is viewed as one of the most important events in Islamic history and is seen as one of the earliest wars in the religion of Islam, and is therefore a battle which requires an in-depth examination because a number of key factors emerge within the study of this battle. The first is our ability to be able to gauge the power of the opposition against the message of the Holy Prophet, and the idea that looking at it from the angles of the Meccans, one is able to understand who the main protagonists are who sought to destroy the religion of Islam in that early period. On a second angle, we are able to study the leadership skills of our Holy Prophet and how he led his army within this battle. On a third level, we are able to understand the loyalty of the companions of the Holy Prophet and understand the many different companions who took part and what the aims and objectives were of these companions at this battle. And on the fourth and the most important level, it allows us to put into context one of the most important statements of Imam al-Hussein in the events of Karbala, where he comes forward and states, إِنِّي لَا أَعْلَمُ أَصْحَابًا خَيْرًا وَلَا أَوْفَى وَلَا أَبَرْ مِنْ أَصْحَابِي. I do not know of companions who are as good, or who are as pure, or who are as loyal as my companions. Why would Imam al-Hussein say this? We will put it into context in relation to the Battle of Uhud and the Battle of Karbala. As we know, the Battle of Uhud took place on the 3rd of Shawwal in the 3rd year of Hijrah. Our Holy Prophet's mission began at the age of 40. The first 13 years of his life he spent in Mecca, and the last 10 years of his life he spent in Medina, and therefore his whole prophethood was a 23-year prophethood. He migrated from Mecca to Medina, and that migration was known as the Hijrah. And therefore, whenever you look at the Islamic calendar today, you will always see alongside the number are the two letters AH, meaning after Hijrah. Because the calendar began from the migration from Mecca towards Medina. Of course, the migration took place in and around Safar towards Rabi' al-Awwal. The migration did not take place in Muharram. And therefore, those who come forward with the argument that Rasulullah entered Medina and he saw people fasting on the 10th of Muharram, that argument falls. Because Rasulullah didn't enter in Muharram. He entered in around Rabi' al-Awwal time. But the point is that the calendar began because of this migration. Those who joined him were known as the Muhajirun, the immigrants, because they left their land, they left their homes to go with him towards a land and towards pastures new. Those who welcomed him in Medina were known as the Ansar. And hence, within traditions, you always hear of the Muhajirun and the Ansar. The Muhajirun are those companions who went with Rasulullah from Mecca to Medina, and the Ansar are those companions who were in Medina to welcome him. As soon as he reached Medina, Abu Sufyan, Abu Jahl, Walid ibn al-Mughira, Utbah ibn Rabi'a, Umayyah ibn Khalaf, all the main leaders of Quraysh who were still in Mecca thought that not only could we not kill him while he was in Mecca, now he's gone and changed the mindset of the people of Medina. Now he's gone towards Medina and seemingly he's building a whole state within Medina. So they decided they would never leave him alone. And that's why a year into his stay in Medina, the Battle of Badr was the first battle in the religion of Islam. That battle, over 900 soldiers fought against the army of Rasulullah. Rasulullah only took with him how many? 313. The opposition had how many? Over 950. Yet who was victorious? Rasulullah. Because there are people who are of the opinion that quantity equals quality. Whereas in Islam we say that quality is always above quantity. You may have had 3 times the number of people, but you didn't have Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib. You didn't have Ali, son of Abu Talib. You didn't have those who were alongside you and who were loyal. Therefore you found that within the Battle of Badr, many of those leaders were killed. Abu Jahl died in that battle as an example. Umayyah ibn Khalaf died in that battle. Utbah ibn Rabi'a. But there was one man who didn't die in that battle, Abu Sufyan. Abu Sufyan caused the whole battle. But while everybody was being killed, he returned safely back to Mecca. Because when he returned back to Mecca, the uproar because of the Battle of Badr was what? Abu Sufyan sent a rumor that his caravan of goods, which belonged to the Quraysh, was looted by Rasulullah. Would Rasulullah loot a caravan? When there is the caravan of goods which is there, would Rasulullah come and loot it? No. But the Quraysh became angry and therefore they sent an army in Badr and they were defeated. When they were defeated at Badr, news came back towards Mecca. Abu Sufyan was sitting in his house with his wife Hind. They were sitting there. He was expecting victory. The news came back to him. What was the news? The news was that the Muslims had defeated the Quraysh. He said, we were over 950 and they were only 313 and they defeated us. He said, I will never accept this. Even when the others of the Quraysh heard that their fathers had died, or their brothers had died, or their cousins had died, they all began to cry. Abu Sufyan made an announcement. Nobody cries for those who they have lost. The people said to him, why should nobody cry? He said, because crying makes the human a weak human being. That was his philosophy. And he said that you won't have that vigor to go back and have vengeance on what happened. Therefore, he mobilized an idea that now that we have lost in Badr, there is no way I will lose in the forthcoming battle. Because you know his wife Hind, she lost 3 of her family to the sword of Ali ibn Abi Talib. She lost whom? She lost her brothers Shayba and Walid, and she lost her father Utbah. That's why she was not happy at all with her husband Abu Sufyan. She said, you are here and you are comfortable while my father and my brothers were killed by the son of Abu Talib. How do you expect such a thing? That's why in Karbala later on, they told Abu Abdullah, the reason we are killing you is revenge for your father and what he did to our grandparents. What happened was that Abu Sufyan said, don't worry, I'll mobilize an army 5 times bigger. In which way? He went to the sons of those who lost their fathers at Uhud. He went to Safwan ibn Umayyah, who lost his father Umayyah ibn Khalaf. He went to Akrama ibn Abu Jahl, who lost his father Abu Jahl. He went to them, he said, do you want vengeance for what happened? They said, yes. He said, then get ready. I'm going to mobilize an army. How many, they said? He said, you know the first battle we took 950 odd? He said, yes. He said, I'm going to take 3,000 this time. The impression was, it was quantity. As long as we have more, we will be victorious. And so therefore he began to mobilize an army, but he needed advice. How do I enter Medina and stop Muhammad? Where did he gain his advice from? He gained his advice from the Jewish tribe Banu Nadir. Because you know in Medina there were 3 main Jewish tribes. Banu Qaynuqa, Banu Qurayza, and Banu Nadir. He went towards the tribe, he sent some envoys. He found out where's the best place to attack Rasulullah. And he took his army towards an area by the name of Uhud. Why is it called Uhud? It's from the root word Ahad. قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ Ahad. Ahad means one. So why is the mountain called Uhud? Because all the mountains in that area are stuck to each other, except Uhud, it's separate. So it was known as the one which is separate from the rest. Rasulullah used to talk about Mount Uhud. What did he used to say? He used to say, this mountain loves us and we love that mountain. Because you know in the Quran, Allah in Surah 2 verse 72, speaks of every creation of His doing tasbih. Likewise, the mountain does tasbih. When Rasulullah says, this mountain loves us and we love that mountain, it goes to show you there was a special relationship. And some of the Arab historians say the reason Rasulullah had this relationship was because whenever he'd come back into Medina, the first mountain he'd see would be the mountain of Uhud. And so that would bring peace to his heart as he was entering Medina. And what did Abu Sufyan do to make sure he won this battle? Abu Sufyan went about with two strategies. What were they? The first strategy was he told every soldier, bring your wife or your sister with you. Why? Because he knew that if the wives were there and the sisters, the soldiers would be under pressure to perform. Because many of these wives had heard of the loss at Badr, and in Arabia, a man was not a man if he had lost a battle. Therefore, what did Abu Sufyan say? He said, bring your wives with you. Why? So that these wives will watch your move. Are you prepared to embarrass yourself on the battlefield when your wives are watching? For example, Talha ibn Abu Talha took his wife, Khalid ibn al-Walid took his sister, Amr ibn al-As took his wife, and they came forward, and these wives were very important in the battle. Why? Because they would be reading poetry which would put their husbands under a lot of pressure. For example, amongst the poetry they used to read was the following lines. What did they used to say? We are the daughters of the shining star. Looking at you from silken beds, we are. Thrash them and we'll come towards you. Run away from them and we'll run away from you. You see these lines? Make it clear. Even Hind, the daughter, the wife of Abu Sufyan said, we are the daughters of Tariq. We are used to walking on costly carpets. We'll sleep with you if you are successful. We'll run away from you if you come back unsuccessful. In this way, they told the soldiers that we've accepted one defeat, but the second, you can forget about it. We depend on you, you have to perform. The second strategy, what did he do? He took with him the idol Hubal. He kept on saying, U'lu Hubal, U'lu Hubal. Raise Hubal. Why? Because Abu Sufyan didn't want people to think that he's fighting this battle. No. He wanted to make the Arabs think that we're fighting for the idol, Hubal. You haven't come to fight for me. It's your idol. Are you going to let your idol down or no? Abbas, the uncle of Rasulullah, had a servant who came to Rasulullah, came to Abbas, said to him that Abu Sufyan has raised an army to come towards Uhud. Rasulullah then informed his companions. He said, now they've come to fight us at Badr, they want to fight us at Uhud as well. Get all the companions ready. And I tell you, some of the most loyal companions of Rasulullah joined him on the day of Uhud. Some of these had only recently got married, but that they were willing to leave their family affairs to go and join the Imam or the Prophet of their time. Ask yourself the question, that if you were living in the Imam with the time of the Imam of your time, would you be able to sacrifice family, or does family come ahead of religion? Sometimes a person has to ask that question, and so what happened was, many stories emerged. For example, Qatada ibn Nu'man came to Rasulullah. He was on his honeymoon. He had just got married. And then Rasulullah said, soldiers, get ready, we have to go to Uhud. He came to Rasulullah. He said, Ya Rasulullah, I have just got married. My wife has seen my complexion like this. And now I'm going towards the battlefield. No one is as important as you, Rasulullah. You are my life and you are my soul. But Ya Rasulullah, if I get injured in the battlefield, what do you think my wife would do? As in, do you think she'd stay with me or no if we come back victorious? Rasulullah said, as long as your niyyah is pure, don't worry. You go out and fight, leave the rest towards us. He went out and he fought valiantly until one of the arrows struck him in his eye. When the arrow struck him in his eye, he was in intense pain, yet he managed to come back to Rasulullah. And from the one eye that remained, he began to cry. And he was like, Ya Rasulullah, I am happy that I have served you. But what do I return to like this? Rasulullah said to him, come near me. He placed his hands on him and his eyesight returned back to him. That's one narration. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala. That's one narration. And some will be surprised, as in some will say, how could the hands do that? If Nabi Yusuf's shirt can cure Yaqub, then why could Muhammad's hand not cure anyone? And therefore, on the first level, Qatada bin Nu'man, that happened with him. Then on the second level, you had a companion like Hanzala ibn Abu Amr. Hanzala ibn Abu Amr, his father used to despise Rasulullah. He got married to Jamila, daughter of Abdullah ibn Ubay. Her father used to despise Rasulullah. Look how sometimes the good comes out from that which is bad. They got married to each other. The news came that you have to go and join Rasulullah. When the news came that they had to join Rasulullah, it was on the night that they had got married. The news had come. Hanzala said to her, I have to go and join Rasulullah. She said to him, just stay with me one night and I want something to happen. He said, what is it? She said, when we wake up this morning, I want 4 witnesses to come and say that we have got married. He wondered why. What had happened was that they stayed together that night and he had to leave straight away in the morning without even having performed his ghusl because the movement has started. She had got 4 witnesses. They had testified they had got married. This Hanzala in the battle was killed. When he was killed, she came towards Rasulullah. When Rasulullah saw her, he asked her, he looked at her, why is it that you wanted witnesses? She said, because the night before we got married, I saw a dream where the heavens were opened. And when the heavens were opened, I could see my husband going through. So I recognized that he'd probably become a shaheed. I wanted people to witness that we were together for one night. He said to her, how did your husband leave? She said, my husband left without even having performed ghusl. He said, no wonder. I saw the angels performing ghusl for him when he died on the battlefield. Here was a second person who had died. And from that marriage, Abdullah ibn Hanzala was born, who later on, after Karbala, tried to avenge what happened on the 10th of Muharram. So there were many loyal companions. When they approached the beginning of the battle, the Arabs used to come forward. Whoever was the bravest in battle has to come forward. The 2 armies would come together, and then the leaders would say, that's my main soldier. The opposition would say, that's my main soldier. Abu Sufyan brought with him a group who some narrations say were 9 brothers. 9 brothers. These 9 brothers, nobody had ever defeated them when it came to war. They were on the front lines of Abu Sufyan. Their name was Talha ibn Abu Talha, and there was Abu Sa'id ibn Abu Talha, Uthman ibn Abu Talha. There was a number of brothers. The head of them came forward. When he came forward, he looked at the opposition. What did he say? He said, I am a warrior and nobody comes near me. I have never lost in one-on-one combat. Who is out there from the opposition to come and fight me? They would be the flag bearers on that day. Rasulullah said to Ali ibn Abi Talib, come out and face them. Tabari narrates, all 9 of them were finished by Ali ibn Abi Talib. One after another. All 9 of them were finished by Amir al-Mu'mineen. The army of Rasulullah was making major inroads. How many were with Rasulullah? 750. How many were with the opposition? 3,000. They were making major inroads until something happened which changed the loyalty of the companions. What happened? Hamza was fighting. Ali ibn Abi Talib was next to him. Hind, when she had heard that her father had died, she became angry. She said, I want one of the following to be killed. They said to her, who? She said, I want Muhammad to be killed. The reply was, you'll never be able to kill him, from the man who had the spear. She said to him, why? He said, because he has too many soldiers surrounding him. I can't reach him with my spear. She said, kill Ali. The reply was, Ali ibn Abi Talib is like a wolf on the battlefield. You cannot kill him from the front or from behind. So the reply was, kill Hamza. Let Hamza die. That's who I want to die. What was the reply? He said, I can kill Hamza. Why? Because when Hamza fights, his stance is open. I can get the spear in. Hamza and Amir al-Mu'mineen were fighting. All of a sudden, Wahshi's spear went right through Hamza. When it went through Hamza, Hamza died at that moment. Some of the companions were in disarray. The rest of them were fighting. The others were uncertain. Our commander has at this moment just been killed. Some of them continued to fight. But then there was a second thing which happened which caused an even major problem. What was it? The second thing that happened was that Rasulullah was with some of his companions on the mountain of Uhud. Some of the companions were on the ground. Others were on the mountain with Rasulullah. Rasulullah had put 50 archers on the left side of the mountain. Why? Because he knew Khalid ibn al-Walid would be able to get around the left side and he'd be able to attack. So what happened was, these 50 were watching the battle. They were watching the companions very strong. As the companions of Rasulullah were winning, as they were gaining victory, some of the companions of Rasulullah in the middle of the battlefield were picking up the spoils. You know, a sword maybe on the ground, you pick it up. A helmet, you pick it up. A shield, you pick it up. These companions, Rasulullah said to them, whatever you do, do not leave me alone on Uhud. Remain here alongside me. Yet instead of remaining alongside Rasulullah, do you know what they did? They left Rasulullah alone and went down to go and collect the spoils. When they went down to collect the spoils, all of a sudden Mus'ab ibn Umar, the companion, was killed. When Mus'ab was killed, a rumor went round. Why? Mus'ab looked like Rasulullah. The fact that Mus'ab looked like Rasulullah, people raised the cry, Muhammad is dead. When the cry was raised that Rasulullah is dead, some of the companions said, if Muhammad is dead, the religion of Muhammad remains alive. Others, no. They turned back and started running away. That's why Anas ibn Nadr, the uncle of Anas bin Malik, says, I was at Uhud. What did I see? He said, while I was at Uhud, I saw Talha. You know Talha and Zubair? Talha. And the second Khalifa, amongst others at the foot of the hill, running away. I said to them, where are you running? The reply that came was, we're running. Muhammad is dead. The reply was, if Muhammad is dead, the religion of Muhammad is alive. Just because Rasulullah has died, doesn't mean you turn back on your heels. The religion is still alive. Many of these companions who Rasulullah expected loyalty from, deserted him. And they ran away. Rasulullah, where was he? He was on Mount Uhud. Do you know what happened while he was on Mount Uhud? He was attacked by over 50 soldiers. Only 3 remained alongside Rasulullah from his companions. Who were they? The first of them was a woman by the name of Al-Harithiyya, a woman. She saw the companions running away. She was like, this is the Prophet of God. This is the type of companions he has. That they run away because of a rumor that he has died. She picked up a pole. She saw Rasulullah being attacked. She ran with her pole and she hit the first person who she saw. That person struck her on her shoulder. To the extent that one hadith says, for 1 year, this wound kept on opening because of how hard it was. This lady was number 1. Number 2, Abu Dujan al-Ansari saw Rasulullah being attacked. He stayed right alongside Rasulullah. Number 3, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Amir al-Mu'mineen saw Rasulullah alone on the mountain. He went up by himself. He could see others running. He saw others going for the spoils of the battlefield. What did Amir al-Mu'mineen do? He went and he fought alongside Rasulullah. To the extent one hadith says that they struck Rasulullah with the sword on his teeth. Rasulullah lost his teeth within that attack. Ali ibn Abi Talib and Rasulullah hand in hand with each other against 50 of the soldiers of Banu Kinana. Banu Kinana, 50 of their soldiers were on the mountain attacking them. Ali ibn Abi Talib defending for his life. To the extent one hadith says, Fatima al-Zahra, when Amir al-Mu'mineen returned back after Uhud, they had only recently got married. When he returned back, she treated 64 wounds on the body of Ali ibn Abi Talib. 64 wounds defending Rasulullah, to the extent that one hadith narrates, Jibreel came down to Rasulullah at that moment, said to him, Ya Rasulullah, what a redeemer you have in the son of Abu Talib. Rasulullah replied by saying, I am from him and he is from me. Jibreel replied by saying, I am from the both of you. La fata illa Ali, wa la sayfun illa dhul fiqar. There is no youth but Ali, and there is no sword but Dhul-Fiqar. Eventually Abu Sufyan and his army, having seen these companions run away, but having seen that they couldn't kill Rasulullah, eventually they went back towards Mecca. What happened after the Battle of Uhud? A number of important incidents happened, yet the first of them was what? Hamza's body was mutilated. Hamza's body was on the ground, and Hind, after the battle, asked Abu Sufyan. She said to him, I want to see where are all the bodies. She asked Wahshi, where is Hamza? Hamza's body was on the ground. She came near him. She said to him, and this caused distress to Rasulullah. She came near him and she said to him, in the same way you and your nephews killed my father, and you killed my brothers, I will never allow you to ever forget this. She asked Wahshi cut apart his body. And when she asked Wahshi to cut apart the body, he began to cut it apart piece by piece. And it's narrated in Al-Balagh and Ansab al-Ashraf that she began to chew the liver of Hamza. Began to chew. She tried to digest, but which human can digest? She tried to digest, but she let it out again. She kept on trying. This tremendously hurt Rasulullah. And this is what Sayyidah Zainab reminded Yazid when she was in front of him in his court. Sayyidah Zainab, when she looked at Yazid, she said, O Yazid, O son of the man who was freed by my grandfather, is it fair that you place your wives behind a curtain while the daughters of Rasulullah have no one to protect them? Is it fair that you disgrace us and you unveil our faces so that all can see us, from the stranger to the acquaintance, from the noble to the ignoble, while there is nobody to protect us? Then she said, how can I hope for sympathy and compassion from someone whose grandmother chewed the liver of the nobles and he was born from the flesh of the martyrs? She came and she ripped apart his body, number one. Number two, those companions of Rasulullah who died at Uhud, the ones who were loyal to Rasulullah, did their blood go in vain? No, it didn't. To the extent they wanted to be buried in that land. Because when a companion is sincere, you'll see that he'll be buried in the very land in which he died. Amr ibn Jamuh, before the Battle of Uhud, his sons all came to him. They said, look, father, you're too old to fight. In Islam, the old don't have to fight. In Islam, the young do not have to fight. In Islam, women do not have to fight. It's not obligatory on any of them. They came to him, they said to him, father, it is not obligatory on you to fight. Why is it that you've come out? He replied, I want to fight. I want to die with Rasulullah. They said, we'll take this to Rasulullah. When they took it to Rasulullah, Rasulullah looked at them, they said, what's the problem? They said that our problem is our father wants to fight alongside you, Rasulullah. He finds it is an honor to be your companion. Rasulullah replied by saying, although he is old, he is not obliged, but you cannot prevent him if he wants to. In the battle, he died. His wife came all the way from Medina with the camels to pick up her sons and her husband. When his wife came with the camels, the first question she asked one of the women is, how is Rasulullah? Look at that, is a wife. She's more concerned about Rasulullah than her own husband. The person who looked at her said, what do you mean, how is Rasulullah? How about your sons and your husband? She said, tell me, is Rasulullah alright? If he is alright, I don't mind what happened to my husband and my sons. The reply was, Rasulullah is alright. She said, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Now tell me, how is my husband and how are my sons? They said, all of them are laying on the ground in Uhud. When she came with her camel to pick them up, she tried to pick up the husband on the camel. However hard they tried, the husband, they couldn't pick him up. She tried to assist, nobody can pick them up. They went to Rasulullah. They said, Ya Rasulullah, this lady, her husband died, and for some reason we cannot carry him on the camel. Rasulullah replied, did he have a wish before he died? And the reply was what? The reply was, yes, he did. What was it? He wanted to die alongside you and be buried in that same area. Because a true companion wouldn't want to be buried anywhere else but the place of the jihad. And so Rasulullah said, that's why his body does not move. Allah wants him to be buried in this area of Uhud, number two. Number three, when they returned back to Medina, Rasulullah made a sunnah which is for all of us today. All of us. That when companions die loyally in the sake of Allah, it is obligatory on their followers to cry for them. Why? Someone will ask why. Because Rasulullah, when he returned back, he found out nobody was crying for his uncle Hamza. There were many crying for their own. He said, why is nobody crying for my uncle Hamza? He told the Ansar woman, I expect you to cry for my uncle, because my uncle sacrificed his life for this religion. Therefore a sunnah was built that Rasulullah had established. Whenever people die on the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you should cry for them. Yet the main point that emerges from the Battle of Uhud was what? Was that not every companion of Rasulullah was at the same level as the other. There were people who were willing to give everything away to Rasulullah. Yet there were other companions who were willing to run away from the battlefield. That one narration says one of them ran a journey of 3 days away from the battlefield. Listen, how much running is that? Running that far away from the battlefield. And there were others who were more concerned. What are the points? Number one, there were others who were more concerned with the spoils of war. They weren't fighting because they wanted the religion to remain alive. They were fighting just in case. There are swords, there are helmets, there are shields. We'll pick them up and we'll go home. We have no concern about the religion. Our concern is that we pick up treasures. That's one group. There's a second aspect of those companions. There was envy between each other. Those companions. Because the ones in the mountain, they were envious of the ones who were on the front. How could they have spoils while we don't? Because of this envy, they left the mountain. Number 3, those companions in some cases weren't willing to die for Rasulullah. Why? Because as soon as Rasulullah, there was a rumor that he had died, they said, let's leave this religion and go away. The Quran said, if Rasulullah has died, the religion of Allah remains alive. Who have you come to fight for? Have you come to fight because Muhammad's movement is a powerful one? Or have you come to fight because truly, even if Rasulullah dies, you will remain standing for the religion? Because imagine now, you had a leader. If that leader died, that leader would never want his companions, when they see him dead, to run away. The leader would want the companions to remain alongside him, to not leave him. Whereas Rasulullah stayed with only 3 companions on the mountain of Uhud. That's why the question arises, why did Imam al-Hussein say, لا أعلم أصحابا خيرا ولا أوفى ولا أبر من أصحابي. Imam al-Hussein on the night of the 10th of Muharram, he said, I have never known of companions as good or as pure or as righteous as my companions. Why? Because he had lived with Rasulullah. He had met the companions of Rasulullah. Many of these names which you hear mentioned, Aba Abdullah grew up watching them. As in when Rasulullah died, Aba Abdullah was in and around 7, 8 years old. He had met many of them. Yet at the same time, he had known not every companion was loyal. Some were after the treasures of this world. Others were after the treasure of the hereafter. Some were envious of each other. And therefore, when it came towards his companions, he said, I don't know of companions like my companions. Why? Because Aba Abdullah knew very well his companions. Their whole aim in coming to Karbala on the 10th of Muharram was nothing but the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Each and every single one of them. And know one thing, brothers and sisters. Aba Abdullah, when he left Mecca to go towards Karbala or to go towards Kufa, on his way when he was traveling, at every watering station, Sukayna bint al-Hussein says, at every watering station, we would have more companions joining us. Imagine, when he left Mecca to go towards Kufa, as long as those people knew that in Kufa there were thousands waiting for him, you found many began to join him. Until he reached an area called Zarud. When he reached that area, that's the same area where Muslim ibn Aqil, the news reached Aba Abdullah that Muslim had been killed at that area. When he reached that area, do you know those people who started joining him? Many of them said to him, sorry, you're going to lose this. He started with thousands with him. By the time the news that Muslim bin Aqil had died, there were only a handful who had remained with him. Many of them had said, you know what, we came with you on the idea that the people of Kufa were going to be alongside us. Now when we look at it, Muslim has died, Kufa's not with you, you've got a small number of companions. Let those companions defend you. Suddenly flocks of people started leaving Abu Abdullah. Many started to leave him. He started to walk from Zarud towards Karbala. As he was walking, he'd keep telling his companions, oh my companions, you are free to leave me. Go back, they want to kill me, they don't want to kill you. Leave me, I will go by myself and I'll defend myself. But do you know the difference between Abu Abdullah's companions and everybody else's? Abu Abdullah, his companions weren't just men. Women were his companions. Young children were his companions. The old were his companions. Every area of people who the Islam says are not obliged to fight, fought with Abu Abdullah. They found it an honor to serve Abu Abdullah. And that's why whenever he'd look at them, he'd look at these women, he'd look at these children, he'd say to them, you don't have to. Yet all of them said, Ya Abu Abdullah, we'll stay alongside you. We will not turn back on our heels. That's why you find amongst them, when they came towards the 10th of Muharram, they came with lines of poetry. Because in Arabian wars, you don't fight unless you recite a line of poetry. That line of poetry shows your conviction, how certain you are of where you have reached. Because Nafi' ibn Hilal narrates, on the night of the 10th of Muharram, I went out of the tent, I saw Abu Abdullah walking one way and the other. When I saw him, I came towards him. He saw me. He said, what are you doing? I said, Ya Abu Abdullah, I saw you walking. And I was wondering, where are you going? Maybe the enemy might attack you. He said, do not worry, Nafi'. I was only seeing tomorrow where each one of us will fight. Where each one of us will die. He said to him, Nafi', come next to me. Nafi' came next to him. He said to him, Nafi', do you see those mountains? He said, yes. He said, do you see the gap between them? He said, yes. He said, Nafi', you are free to go between that gap. Nafi' replied to him, Ya Abu Abdullah, may my mother be sacrificed for you. How do you expect me to leave you? And how do I face Allah on the day of judgment? Then Sayyidah Zainab on the night of the 10th of Muharram came to Abu Abdullah. She said, Ya Abu Abdullah, these companions, are you certain they won't leave you and betray you? He said, they are with me like a child, like an infant is attached to its mother. In the same way an infant is attached to its mother, they are all with me. Yet he came to each one of them. He came, for example, to the children of Aqil. He came and he said, you don't have to fight with me. They said, Ya Abu Abdullah, what is life after your death? It's not worth living. We want to give everything we have away to you. He went towards his other companions. He said to each one of them, you don't have to fight. Each one of them came and gave him a different answer. When you look at them, for example, there was a woman. She was not obliged to fight, but she gave her 11-year-old son to Abu Abdullah. Amr ibn Janada, she said to her 11-year-old, I will never be proud of you unless you today are a companion of the son of Fatima al-Zahra. He went out on the battlefield and he said, Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir. سرور فؤاد البشير النذير علي وفاطمة الوالدة وهل تعلمون له من نظير. He came out, what did he say? Hussein, my prince is Hussein, and the most blessed of princes. Look at this 11-year-old when he comes forward and he says these lines, Amir Hussein wa ni'mal amir. سرور فؤاد البشير النذير. He brings heart to the joy of the man who brought this religion. Ali and Fatima are his parents. Do you see an equal next to him? Then when he died, his mother, she got his body, she looked at her son, she looked and she thought, look at this son of mine, how loyal he is. I like his mother, I will be loyal. She picked up a pole and she went in the middle of the battlefield. Abu Abdullah said to her, you don't have to come out. She said, Ya Abu Abdullah, your mother is my life. I cannot take seeing you in this position. أنا عجوز سيدي ضعيفة خاوية بالية نحيفة أضربكم بضربة عنيفة دون بني فاطمة الشريفة. She came out on the battlefield. She said, I'm an old lady and I am weak. I am now past that which I can do, but I'll strike you a strike to defend the family of Abu Abdullah. Here was a woman. Then there was a man who was 93 years old. He came, Abu Abdullah saw him. He said, Anas ibn al-Harith, you are 93 years old. You don't have to fight. You've done enough for me. Abu Abdullah looked at him. He said, Ya Abu Abdullah, this line it hurts. He said, Ya Abu Abdullah, when you were only 4 years old, I remember seeing your grandfather Rasulullah hold you in the masjid, and he said, oh people, Husaynun minni wa ana min al-Husayn. أحب الله من أحب حسينا. Hussein is from me and I am from Hussein. Allah loves the one who loves Hussein. He said, Ya Abu Abdullah, I've been in Karbala for 2 months waiting for you. 2 months. Imagine, there are some companions who run away from a battle. Then there are companions who've sat there for 2 months. Because he said, your grandfather said, if Hussein is alone in Karbala, those of you who are alive, don't leave Hussein alone. He said, Ya Abu Abdullah, I want to fulfill what your grandfather said. But then there were 3 companions who were the backbone of Abu Abdullah. Muslim ibn Awsaja, Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, and Habib ibn Madahir. These 3, they were the backbone of Abu Abdullah. To the extent that when Abu Abdullah, when all his companions had died, when every single companion had died, Abu Abdullah was alone. Do you know what Abu Abdullah said? هل من ناصر ينصرنا هل من ذاب يذب عن حرم رسول الله. Then he said, Ya Habib ibn Madahir, ويا زهير ibn al-Qayn, ويا Muslim ibn Awsaja, ويا أبطال الصفاء, ويا فرسان الهيجاء, ما لي أناديكم فلا تسمعون وأدعوكم فلا تجيبون وأنتم نيام أرجوكم تنتبهون. فهذه نساء آل الرسول فقد علاهن من بعدكم النحول. فقوموا عن نومتكم أيها الكرام وادفعوا عن آل الرسول الطغاة اللئام. Do you know what he said? He said, oh Habib ibn Madahir, oh Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, oh Muslim ibn Awsaja, oh valiant warriors and oh brave fighters, why is it that I call you? Remember, they are dead. Why is it that I call you and you don't answer me? And I invite you, but you don't come and accept my invitation. You are asleep. I ask you to listen to me. The daughters of Rasulullah are alone now, with nobody to protect them. Rise from your sleep and come and protect the daughters of Rasulullah. When he said this, can you imagine how much these 3 meant to him? Can you imagine Zuhair ibn al-Qayn? Zuhair ibn al-Qayn and Habib ibn Madahir, were it not for their wives, there would never have been that valiancy. In the same way, there were wives who gave companions in Uhud. Zuhair ibn al-Qayn originally was not with Abu Abdullah. He had been returning from Hajj. On his way back returning from Hajj, Zuhair ibn al-Qayn was in the tent with his wife, Daylam. Abu Abdullah, do you know what he said? He sent a messenger to Zuhair ibn al-Qayn. He said to the messenger, go and tell Zuhair ibn al-Qayn that Abu Abdullah is awaiting you. When the messenger came to Zuhair ibn al-Qayn, Zuhair had hidden himself. And the messenger came in. Zuhair said, what is it? He said, Abu Abdullah is calling you, Zuhair. He wants you to join him. Zuhair for a moment looked at his wife. His wife said to him, Zuhair, what is it? And the reply was that Abu Abdullah wants me. She looked at him. She said, the son of Rasulullah calls you and you do not rise to go towards him. Go towards him. Then he looked at her and he said, but I'm going to leave you alone. She said, no, don't leave me alone. I'll come with you. But promise me one thing. If Sayyidah Zainab, the sister of Abu Abdullah, becomes a prisoner, let her take me with her as a prisoner. Do not let her leave me alone. Look at the conviction of this companion. He went towards Abu Abdullah, and even on the 10th of Muharram, his lines are memorable. أنا زهير وأنا ابن القين أضربكم بالسيف عن حسيني إن حسينا أحد السبطين من عترة النبي الزكي الزيني ذاك رسول الله غير المين يا ليت نفسي قسمت قسمين. I wish that my body had been cut into pieces. Because when Aba Abdullah looked at Zuhair, he said, Zuhair, you can leave now, don't worry. He said, Ya Aba Abdullah, if I am killed and the horses crush me, and I am revived, and I am killed and the horses crush me, and I am revived, if it's done to me 1,000 times, I'd do it for you, Aba Abdullah, all the time. This was the companions that he had. But that final companion was Habib ibn Mudahir. Habib ibn Mudahir had grown up with Aba Abdullah to the extent that Habib ibn Mudahir wasn't just a companion of Aba Abdullah. He was a companion of Rasulullah. Habib ibn Mudahir was a companion from the time of Rasulullah. One day Habib ibn Mudahir was with Maytham al-Tammar. They were talking to each other. Maytham al-Tammar looked at Habib. He said to him, Oh Habib, are you ready one day that your body may be cut into pieces for Aba Abdullah? He said to him, yes I am. He then looked at Maytham, he said, Maytham, I could see you one day crucified in a tree, praising Ali ibn Abi Talib. Are you ready for that day? He said, yes I am. Habib ibn Mudahir was in Kufa. Aba Abdullah had come towards Karbala. He wrote a letter to Habib ibn Mudahir. Do you know when the letter came to Habib? It came to Habib when Habib was sitting at the breakfast table with his family. He was sitting down, a servant brought the letter. When the servant brought the letter, do you know what the letter said? إلى العالم العابد الفقيه الزاهد Habib ibn Mudahir, to the scholar, the servant, the jurisprudent, the ascetic Habib ibn Mudahir. Oh Habib, this is Aba Abdullah, and I am waiting for you to join me. His wife looked at him. She said, Habib, what is it? He said, it's a message from Aba Abdullah. She said, Habib, what are you waiting for? Aba Abdullah calls you. Rise from your position, go and defend him. He told his servant, he said to his servant, Kufa is dangerous now. You go out on the plains of Kufa. I will leave Kufa at the time of Salat al-Asr, and then I will come and then I will meet you. He came out. When he came out at that time, his servant had waited and waited and waited. Still, servant has not seen Habib. Habib, as he was approaching the servant on the horse, the servant looked at the horse. The servant was talking to the horse. He said, oh horse, if my master doesn't come, I will ride you to Aba Abdullah. I will never allow Aba Abdullah to be alone. Habib looked at him and he said, oh servant, what great words you say. But oh servant, you don't have to fight. Don't worry about it. He said to him, Ya Habib, I have served you for many years and now you are going to deprive me from serving Aba Abdullah and from serving the son of Rasulullah. Habib ibn Mudahir said to him, no servant, I will not deny you. They both rode towards Karbala. Narrations say Aba Abdullah, when he came to Karbala, he was very sad by the whole surrounding. Until when he saw Habib ibn Mudahir, they say Aba Abdullah began to smile when he saw Habib. When he saw Habib come towards him, Habib came, he embraced Aba Abdullah. Then Fadda had sent a message to Habib. Do you know what the message was? It was a message from Sayyida Zainab saying, welcome Habib. Do you know what he did? He took off his turban and he began to slap his cheeks and he said, may Allah curse Yazid, what has happened to the daughters of Rasulullah? And then they send their salams to an ordinary person like Habib ibn Mudahir. He came towards Aba Abdullah. He said, Ya Aba Abdullah, let me go out and defend you. Aba Abdullah said to him, you are my friend, hold back. He said, no Aba Abdullah, leave it to me. I want to go out. I want to defend you. When he came out, he said, أنا حبيب وأبي مظاهر فارس هيجاء وحرب تسعر أنتم أعد عدة وأكثر ونحن أوفى منكم وأصبر. He said, you, O people, you may be of a greater quantity than us, but we are of greater loyalty and patience than you are. The narrations say to us that Habib fought valiantly. It is narrated that the soldiers became scared of Habib. His military prowess was making him go through the army. Whenever he'd strike someone, he'd turn around and he'd say, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. He'd
continue fighting until Umar ibn Sa'ad said, strike your arrows on him. Suddenly all the archers were ready. A stream of arrows attacked his body. He was on the ground now. He tried to get up, but the arrows didn't allow him to get up. Two of the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad came towards him. One of them beheaded Habib ibn Madahir. Habib ibn Madahir on the 10th of Muharram was the first person to be beheaded. Do you know, brothers and sisters, normally they put the heads on a spear, but Habib ibn Madahir, they didn't put his head on a spear. They tied his head on a rope and they made the horses run around with it. Then do you know what happened? When these soldiers went back towards Kufa, they left his head hanging from a horse. Abu Abdullah, his head was on a spear. Abu Fadl's head was on a spear. Ali al-Akbar's head was on a spear. Whereas Habib ibn Madahir, his head was tied from a rope. Suddenly one man narrates that I was riding my horse. I had Habib's head tied on a rope. I thought to myself, I will take this to Ibn Ziyad. And then I saw this young boy staring at the head which was on the horse. I looked at him and I said to him, who are you staring on this head? Why are you looking at this head that I have tied to my horse? He said, my name is Qasim, the son of Habib ibn Madahir. You have my father's head tied towards your horse. Give me my father's head so that I am able to bury it. Do you know what the poet said? They say that Habib replies from the spear by saying, oh my son, you want to bury my head while the head of Abu Abdullah sits on the spear. You want to put me on the ground while the head of the son of Fatima az-Zahra is paraded. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us on the path of Muhammad and al-Muhammad. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be amongst the companions of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman, to allow us to be amongst those who are loyal towards his cause, loyal towards his message. Ya Allah, raise us with the Imam of our time. Allow us to receive his intercession and the intercession of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Everybody raise your hands. Raise your hands, and whatever you have inside you, pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. For those who are ill, for those who require our help, for brother Muhammad Baqir Allu who passed away today, we pray for him as well. And we pray for all those around the Islamic world to receive the intercession of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. اللهم ارزقنا شفاعة الحسين يوم الورود وثبت لنا قدم صدق عندك مع الحسين وأصحابه الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. You all know the ziyarah very well, which honors the ashab of Abu Abdullah. Assalamu alayka ya Abu Abdullah. وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين. All in one voice. وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Again. وعلى أصحاب الحسين. Again. وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the Surah Al-Fatiha, but before it the loudest of salawat.